A few weeks ago in federal parliament, Pat Conahan stood up and put the name of my next guest on the public record. That's not a small thing. It means the work, the voice, and the lived experience of today's guest has reached the people who write the policies that shape his life and the lives of so many others. Connor Bryant is a man in a wheelchair, supported by the NDIS, and someone who refuses to let his circumstance define the limits of what he can achieve or say. Today on Voices That Lead, we're talking about resilience, the reality of navigating the NDIS system, and what it actually felt like to be named in Parliament, and what real leadership looks like when you're constantly proving people wrong about what you're capable of. Grab a cuppa and let's get into it. Okay, so today we have Connor Bryant. Thank you for joining us at Voices to Lead. And I thought I might start talking about how we became connected and why I reached out to you. And Pat Conahan had mentioned you in Parliament a couple of weeks ago. And I'm somebody that's very passionate about, the human rights, the advocacy, hence making Voices That Lead. And I thought, wow, Connor's in our area, mid-North Coast, I'm going to reach out to him, which I did. And you came along to our mid-North Coast community of practice, which was great. And then I asked you to join this podcast. So hence that's how we're connected. First time we've met each other, we've had a couple of conversations, but I'm very happy that you've joined us.
Yeah, and it's great to sort of be here, just sort of always looking, I suppose, as to what's next and what next steps to take within even advocacy. So
tell us about what it was like to hear that Pat had mentioned you. Like, what happened?
All I got really was just a text from Pat going, "Hey bud, what were the things that you're involved in with your advocacy and your disability work again?" And I just rattled off everything that I'm kind of doing, because it goes from I volunteer at Mission, working with youth and things like that. I'm on their Missions MAP advisory board, to their executives and their board of directors, and then even around advocacy of more that I've done it just in community. I talk to my support workers as well. Even with other causes that know me and stuff, even reach out and they're just like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this person, or have you come across this problem before?" Because it's funny, every Wednesday Jade and I always have this funny little side bet that whenever we go out, we kind of go, "How many people are going to stop you today?" Or be like, "Oh, g'day Connor, hey Connor." And I think we got into double digits one day, and that just of people just stopping to say good day, or ask things around advocacy, or like, "Hey, I know you're the fella in the know. What do you think about this? Have you heard about that?" A lot of my advocacy has also just been conversations that support worker might talk to me. Then when I'm having a conversation with a cause, then be like, "Hey, did you know that this happens here and this is what's going on at the moment?" That they all just kind of link there. Or I've even had the one that brings to mind actually is I've had one support worker that reached out for a client that was palliative and that from their disability, and a lot of things just weren't adding up for that client, like around people that were supposed to help, the taking of funding and things like that, and a support worker asking, "Is this right? Like, can they do that? Or how is that funding actually supposed to be used?" And it resulted in a complete service provider change. It resulted in getting another cause on board that started to set things straight, and reports were made as well. And it just gave that particular participant and client dignity back.
That's great to hear. So was there one event that led to you taking on a stronger advocacy role?
I don't think it was one event. I look at my own participation in this scheme where anything that can go wrong, like Murphy's Law, anything that could go wrong to a participant or be shortchanged or not appropriately funded has happened with me. Everything that I have gotten on the scheme has just been an upward battle. It's never been something where, okay, I need a new wheelchair. I'm actually, to bring it back to something relevant, this wheelchair was prescribed to me over 5 years ago, and it was incorrectly prescribed by a clinician, and it's caused me no end of actual physical knock-on effects of within pain and not being suited. But I've had to wait all of that time. I've spent that 5 years fighting to show that the clinician did the wrong thing, didn't provide the adequate wheelchair. Even the wheelchair provider looked at it and just kind of like when it was delivered going, this is the wrong chair. And it was like everybody around me knew that it was wrong, and they just went, oh well. So then my whole time of, I had to then get rid of that particular cos. I finally got a cos that was like a pit bull in my corner. She started me, and I'll give her a shout out, of Rebecca Bell, and she started the fight to get the ball rolling. It took me 4 years to even get a power chair so that I could just get out by myself. 4 years of submitting, then having to resubmit with amendments, and then it was like we submitted my need and then the system minimized the need. So it's always been that constant. I'm still waiting on a decision to give me a proper manual chair and all of that, and that was submitted November last year. And it's simple, it's straightforward, and at everything that I have ever had to ask for around supports, equipment, therapies, always been such a fight. And that's sort of why I do what I do, or why I advocate so much. And it's more, I even remember my first meeting with Pat, and it was very emotional because it was meeting Pat, sort of the moment that he stepped in, the moment that he even advocated for me, all of the kind of bureaucratic crap stopped. Like all of a sudden my stuff was just ripped out of this stream and put before someone in the agency that went, righto, that's the need, no more resubmissions, what was the original submission, righto, do that. And then it went back into the system, but then when it went back into the system again, those parts started to get pulled out again and started nitpicking. But I said to Pat, and why it was so emotional was because I always feel like I have no qualms with fighting for others. It's just that when it comes to myself, I always will see that if I'm going, come on, just give me my wheelchair, and please give me my power chair that gives me some semblance of independence and stuff, and less pain, because as you can see I'm kind of Viking size. I'm not like, you know, this. I said, I know that there are a lot more people that are worse than me, and they can't do what I'm doing right now. And Pat just kind of, like, it rocked Pat. Just as much as me, because it's always like, I am lucky. I am so fortunate that I can advocate.
So did you request a meeting with Pat? Because you're trying to fight for your own funding?
And 7 years on, and I'm still drastically underfunded. You know, like, one of my videos I put out on my own Facebook was that, you know, my medical file that was submitted to the NDIA when I first went to enter the scheme was about that thick, and it keeps getting bigger, and like, I was like, my head for comparison, you know, like, and that was submitting all the supporting evidence that is legislated, required, that all of my reports always met every single point within policy and legislation. And you know, this is the other problem that this leads onto, and it's like, I'm so sorry if it's not making sense because I'm jumping from one door.
No, you're making perfect sense.
That when you have people that have complex disability, neurological conditions, things like that, that you get clinicians that have spent years, you know, putting themselves into debt to train to be able to help complex disability and disorders and whatnot. Then they're, you know, 10 years plus worth of schooling and working in our community gets handed over to someone that's just like, oh, I'll just go and work for the government.
Yeah.
I don't have a clinical background. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physio. I'm not an OT, a speechy, a dietitian, cos, whatever, social worker. And I'll read all of these clinical reports and then I'll make decisions on that based on that kind of funding. And one of the things that I've always said to Pat in many of our conversations is that the NDIS does not prioritise the hiring of clinicians to make clinical based decisions on like everything to do with a disability.
Yeah, I think it's madness too. So they invest lots of money to get reports.
Yep.
They're submitted and they ignore the very advice that they've paid for.
Yep.
Like, that's insane to me.
Because one of the things the agency does do is that in your 3 months training that you'll get when you're on board with the NDIA, because I found this out through my own digging and advocacy,
tell me this, yeah.
Is that the agency trains them to look for buzzwords.
Right.
Or that looks for, you know, that the way that this sentence will be set up to show how it relates to policy, that's what you need to look for. That's how you need to do it. Rather than actual reading that report, seeing how it's justified against legislation and policy, and then look at the clinical recommendations from those $1,000 worth of reports,
yeah,
and then go, okay, how do I then, here's my clinical judgment, how do I translate that into funding and monetary wise? And it's like, it's almost like going through a scratchy or watching your winning lotto numbers come up when you actually get someone that's in the agency, like a planner, that goes, oh, I'm actually an OT, or I'm a physio, or I'm a speechy, or something like that. So that then you just kind of, oh, finally, someone that's actually going to put it. But every time I've gone for a funding review, my planners have gone for the maximum amount of funding that they can get at, like, because there's different level planners as well. That for some reason my complex disability is stuck at level 1, and that I don't get a level 3 planner, and they go for the maximum amount, but they go, you meet criteria for level 2 and level 3 possible planning. But if I recommend that you go to level 2, you'll get put back into the system. Your plan will just kind of half roll over, or it'll cease until the level 2 planner picks it up, which could be 3 to 4 months away.
Yeah, right.
And then when the level 2 planner goes, oh, actually, you probably require a level 3 planner, it'll get shoved back down.
Yeah.
And I'm 12 to 6 months in, waiting for a proper review.
Yeah, incredibly frustrating. So I think what you're saying, one of the ways it would help is to have clinicians doing the assessment of the information. What else do you think would be a big, good reform within the NDIS?
I think, I even touched on this on one of my videos, and I kind of got real fired up about it.
Yeah, well, it's your life.
Because you sit here, like, these are the facts, right? The government has come out and said, we know who's rorting the system. We know how they're rorting this system. But the problem is that if we went through and launched massive, you know, nationwide raids, we'd collapse our judicial system, because there's that many. Like, that in itself is like, what the hell? But they're like, so what we'll do is we'll just make the system even more harder, more complex
to get into,
but also for those that are already on it, we're going to even make it more harder for them
to stay on it
and maintain, the semblance of a normal life that isn't so normal at the moment, because in my experience every day is a bloody fight.
Yeah.
That I sit there and I go, look, in New South Wales we've got these little task forces that I know of called Raptor and things like that. And if the federal police know who all of these people are, because the crime is you're actually breaking federal law because it's federal money
Funding.
that's being used, that the federal coppers know who all these people are, why not in New South Wales send Raptor out, snatch all these Bentleys and BMWs back, kick all of these people out of their $1 million properties, seize all their assets no matter how much of a shell game they play.
Yeah.
And then with all that money that you get from selling all of their shit, and excuse the French, but
Yeah.
why don't you put up like the funding of going, hey, we snatched back, I think it was 18 mil was one of the shysters that, we gave like a good portion of this 18 mil to Timmy, Susie, Benny, Tommy and all of that.
Yeah.
And they got their wheelchairs, they got their commodes, they got their 2-to-1 supports, they've got this funding.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a massive reform.
Yeah.
Because that will send a message that this is what will happen if you defraud it. Because at the end of the day, the other massive misconception that's out and about at the moment is that the funding that gets allocated to us, for people that don't engage with the NDIS at all but just see all of the crazy headlines, think that the funding ends up in my bank account. And that I give it out to people.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't.
No.
It's like I have a plan manager that sends the invoice off to the federal holding pen that controls the money, and then the AI system, very little known there, goes, okay, here is the code, I see the code. Here is the money amount, okay, that is legit, the hours seem to match up in that criteria. The AI system pay. But that only works, and this is something I saw on even like one of the Four Corners thing about the NDIS as to how these shysters were gaining the system, was that if they submitted an invoice between 5 and 6, the system would automatically pay it out regardless of the number amount.
Wow.
And it wasn't until after 6, when night shift would take over to go through the day's invoices to check to make sure that all the numbers matched, that there all of a sudden a big chunk of that money went out, and they said, well, shit, we can't get that back.
Right.
The system screwed up.
Right.
And there was even another one that exposed the NDIA over in Lakemba. I don't know if you might have seen that.
No.
I think there was like 3 brothers or something that exposed that there was an NDIS provider in a square kilometre block in their shop, that there was one NDIS provider for every third person that lives in Lakemba, and they're all owned by extended family.
Yeah.
Like of one family, but they're all extended family members with these things. The agency was seeing that that entire square block that was owned by that whole massive family was ripping the NDIA 18 mil a quarter. But
That's insane.
They can still do it, because when they go, it's like playing whack-a-mole, because they'll shut one down, but then it'll open again because they'll delete a number out of their ABN or something, or a letter out of the business name, and they're back at it again.
Yeah.
So, there's those kinds of things that they need, like, to snatching back the fraud stuff needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know? It's just insane.
And the little fraud activity that happens, that they're never going to look at those, like workers claiming support hours, and as well as paying for a haircut for a participant, and they'll claim it back in support hours. Right, technically that's fraud too, but those little ones never going to get picked up because they're too busy dealing with these bigger ones.
Because their fraud department is about, I think, out of all of the system, is either 1,000 people or less than 1,000 that has to manage over, what was it, 640,000 participants or something at the moment. But like, I mean, I even look at the social commentary that, you know, we're the biggest problem in the moment in the economy, but yet we'll give 50 million to the Taliban that we just spent, you know, a decade fighting against, or we'll give Papua New Guinea $600 million to start a football team.
Yes, yeah.
And nobody sees that there's those kinds of problems, you know, that, but it's us disabled people that are just trying to live.
Yeah, well, I was reading some, I can't remember where it was now, but there was mention that the fraud in Medicare is way bigger than the fraud in NDIS.
Yep.
But you never actually hear about that or anybody doing anything about it.
No. And it's more because I personally believe in my advocate role, and because I'll be advocating until the day they put me in the ground, is that we're the soft target. Because I am a minority within the minority that can stand up and speak for those who can't. Well, not literally stand up, but but will sit up and speak for the others.
Yeah.
But I also need to, like, you know, even defend a lot of support workers, because there are so many good that are doing so much, because I have had such amazing people in my support life, because I wasn't born in a chair. I have.
Do you want to share that story? You're happy to share how you ended up in the chair?
Yeah, I can give the cleft notes of that. But with my support workers is that they've encouraged me to keep going. They encourage me to keep talking, and that they also help me, like, put it all in such an order to make it make sense. And they even see, because even some of my support workers, sure, they work for an agency, but then they also do private, because there's also disabled clients that agencies won't touch.
Yes, yeah.
And all of that because of complexity, because of behaviours, because of, you know, their plans are just shit anyway. That privates are doing that work that agencies just think, well, no, we can't get enough money out of that, so we're not going to touch it, or I'm not going to deal with those disability sort of things. Yeah. But
I think you're right in terms of this industry being a little bit pushed on or picked on, and it feels sometimes like the government treats workers as family. So the expectation is you'll go above and beyond anyway. So we'll fund at this level, but we know people aren't, you know, going to, you know, they draw on their empathy and compassion. Whereas if it was another business or another service, they don't take that route.
No.
Yeah.
But it's more to, like, I have one support worker that since coming on board with me, that has always steered me in, like, the right direction, but it's never, we're going to do this. This is what you should be doing. This is how you are. It is more that it's like, have you ever thought of this? You're good at doing this. Let's try that. And it's led me to some really great places, not only within my professional life, but my personal life, or in my sports even that I do. And I think that that's where a lot of support workers differentiate. That to me is value that helps me live a normal life. I've had so many even support workers via agencies that these young'uns think, oh, I'll just get in that system and it'll be great because it's easy money, because all you got to do is just be there. You might have to push them around or take them places. Yeah. But I've had support workers just sort of sit there, do this. Yeah. Doom scroll. Yeah. And I just sit there and go, you can go. And then they never come back. Yeah. Because I ring and I just go, that one's no good. Yeah. You know.
So what sort of sports do you do?
Well, previous to the chair, I used to be a professional paintballer, all of that, and it's like, yes, that is a sport.
Yes, yeah, I didn't know, yes.
I'm rather well known nationally and internationally for it.
Okay. What year are we talking about?
So this was 2019.
Yep.
Was my last game ever.
Okay.
And in October, long weekend, 2019. I also do, I haven't done it recently, but I used to do para archery.
Yeah.
And I was really, really good at that. But unfortunately, even there is another story of advocacy, because my disability is not recognised underneath their classification system, so I can't compete.
Oh my God.
I tried wheelchair basketball.
Yeah.
Can't get classified in that either. So I can't compete outside of just going for a Friday Arvo game and a muck around. But my lovely support worker Jade had actually suggested my archery, because me not being able to participate in paintball in the same way, because unfortunately they won't let me get pushed in a wheelchair out on the field to compete, and things like that as well.
Why? What are the reasons? Is it a safety reason from their perspective? Or?
No, because you sign a waiver when you go to a paintball thing. It's either worrying. One excuse I was given was that I damaged the playing surface, but it's grass. It grows back.
Yes.
The other came at a rule set that, oh well, you can't feel your legs, so, and because the bunkers aren't designed for someone in a wheelchair, you know, you can't feel your legs, but if you get hit anywhere on your body, you know, it's like you're out, and it's only one hit and you're out, sort of thing. And I'm like, well, then aim for my hand or my body.
Yeah.
You know, like the same as that. What I'm trying to do is aim for your hands or your face or your body, even though you're wearing full protective gear.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of those things, and there's a lot more things going on there, but those are just some of the reasons. But every time I turn up there, nearly everybody there rolls up, shakes my hand, talks to me, asks my advice. I fix all of their markers and stuff as well as a gun tech. So,
yeah, okay, great.
It's even one of my little side hustles and things like that, is that I fix people's markers and things like that to just to stay involved. And then for a while there I was taking a bit of a hiatus from it, and my lovely support worker Jade had started to go, well, you should try archery. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that, you know, like it's Robin Hood crud a little bit. But then just one day she's like, I was really kind of bummed, because just life's heavy, man. And she just said off the cuff, why don't we go and try indoor? Just try it once, and if you don't like it, I won't even bring it up again.
Yep.
And I did, and we did an indoor round, and my first ever attempt at doing an indoor round, even at 8 meters, the score was out of 300 and I shot 195.
Wow, got a good eye then.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
And after that I proceeded to get into it quite heavily. I have my own competition bow. It's all like, I went from 15-pound draw weight to a 40-pound draw weight, and you know, I'm fighting over the X and stuff, and clustering really, really good, and I was shooting really, really well even for 6 months into the game. And went up for classification after you go through all of the rigmaroles. I got all my OT and physio reports to show my level of function and what classification I believed I would get, because I fit into a W2 category.
Right.
And I got there, I sat through QAS and all of that, talking about, well, look, if you shoot really good and you place really well, and I'm like, I'm there. I'm going to be, you know, next Paralympian, you know.
Yeah.
I've got potential. All of my coaches that were looking at me like, wow, you've got potential and you're great. Sat through all of these things, learning about where I can go in this sport, and I'm just like, hell yeah, this is great. And it was just after lunch. I had to go to Brisbane for that, so my parents come and took me because I don't drive, I don't have my own transport, all of that. And we paid, a couple of $1,000s to go up for a weekend because it goes into accommodation and prices, and
yes.
we don't have enough time for that.
Yes.
Then just after lunch, and I rolled through the door. They closed the door behind me and they sat down and said, right, you're not getting classified today because your disability isn't excluded, but it's not included as like, and they've also made a mad scurry now to change the wording of the rules and whatnot, because it used to be your disability isn't what makes you classifiable, it's your impairments that do.
Yes.
And I have classifiable impairments. So now they've changed their rules that you have to have an eligible disability to then have eligible classification or impairment.
How frustrating.
And it was after me, because after being told that, you're not eligible, I took it right up to the federal sporting minister and
good on you.
All of that, and I wrote all of my letters. I told them all about it, and they just said, well look, they're saying it's their rule set and it's the international rule, and I just went, no it's not, because internationally my disorder, which is functional neurological disorder, and mine is quite severe because I have lower limb paralysis and I can't feel my legs, that my disorder used to be considered a conversion disorder, and by that it means that I just need to go and see a psychologist, think happy thoughts, and I'll be able to pirouette across the room again.
Wow.
So that was how they defined it in sport, and they removed that because those rules were done in the 80s. And since the 80s, there is so much more research that's been done that shows this isn't a conversion disorder.
No.
And it's sort of shame though that our UK brethren and all of that are actually leading the way in FND and the understanding of it, and that they have so many systems in place, even in their health system, that really does support it. But they removed conversion disorder from their no-no list, which meant from that definition then that I should be
able to,
with a chance, and no. So robbed of that sport, and they just said go find another sport, and I said, well the only other one I've got in my rural area is wheelchair basketball, and I had 2 doctors in there that were the classifiers themselves that are also from an archery background. And they also had the Australian Paralympic classification team. And there was another lady sitting across from me in the wheelchair there. And she said, oh, you won't get classified in wheelchair basketball either, because I specifically wrote the rule set and classification to exclude your disability.
Why?
So, don't know. I think I'm going to be controversial here and say that if they were to allow people like us in, all of a sudden a small capture of athletes that they have all of a sudden will explode into such a big, massive, diverse field that they will have to choose from, and they don't want that. They want their little tight bunch of people. Because even when I was being classified, one of my very good friends in the archery game, who is the only W1 female athlete in archery, that she was coming from the mid-north coast. She actually lives down your neck of the woods. And she's an incomplete quad, and that's how she fell into the W1. And 3 of us went up. They knew that one was just going to be a W2. I was the question mark, but they wanted her. So if 2 of the people got knocked out or not that were coming with her, she would have backed out and went, no, I'm not doing this. So they let us all come, let us go through the classified. They saw me get the rigmarole, and that I got shafted, oh, I'm really sorry, but I got W1 and all of that and the W2, and I don't begrudge her because she's gone off to do amazing and wonderful things, and they're highlighting her because she's the only W1 that they've had in years or ever.
Yeah. And
it's really, really great what she's doing, but the way that the organisation went around that, just not good.
No, so Connor, how do you get your resilience? So you've had lots of setbacks, lots of barriers, lots of blocks, yet you still find the strength to not only advocate for yourself but support other people. So where do you think that resilience comes from?
Well, the simple choice, or the simple answer is that there is no other choice. There's no other safety net. There is nobody coming to save me.
Yeah.
So I kind of just go, I have to do it.
Yeah.
I see that I am lucky and fortunate in my positions is that I can advocate and that I can do it for those who can't. I've had people since doing even my little Facebook videos that are stopping me in the street and going, hey, I saw a video of you and that you were talking on your Facebook about what's going on for you. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
One that really touched my heart was just someone else I didn't know had come up and said, hey, I saw your video and I just want to thank you, because it was a dad and he had his autistic non-verbal son with him, and he says keep speaking for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just wonderful, and the fact that you're getting that sort of reaction from your Facebook posts is great, and it really is the premise of Voices That Lead, is because people who have a lived experience do have quite a powerful voice, and sometimes they don't really understand that. So seeing somebody like you, be vocal, be an advocate, will assist other people to also, share their stories, let people know what it's like. Don't, so much suffer in silence, but sometimes it is suffer in silence.
Yeah. And I think this is where I can now dive into a bit of a cliff notes of my story, because it's massive as to how I ended up into the chair. But I suffered somewhat of a very bad workplace accident, and it did a lot of nerve damage. I also have a TBI previously, and things like that made me susceptible to my FND. The workplace injury has been proven that it was the trigger, but that's a whole other work covered nightmare.
Yeah.
Still fighting. And then I became symptomatic for 2 years before I had massive onset of FND, or catastrophic onset is what they call it.
Right.
Because I lost all function of my legs, just went
overnight almost.
Overnight. But the symptoms were that I had lower limb weakness. Like, I was a very outdoorsy guy, like professional paintballer, running around, like fitness. My only vice was that I smoked ciggies. Like, I didn't even drink because I couldn't afford to drink and play paintball, because paintball's expensive.
Yeah.
But that was my only vice, and I'd be going to my doctor over and over throughout these 18 months, like, I go, Doc, I'm tripping on a flat surface. And he's just like, well, you're a Gumby, Connor, and all of that. And I said, no, but it's like my legs aren't lifting up. I feel just weak. And went through the whole thing of how many hours a night are you sleeping, or how much cups of coffee are you drinking a day, or are you eating well? Like, I mean, I was borderline vegan.
Wow.
Trying to sort out all of my stuff,
all your symptoms. Yeah.
And they just kept getting worse. Even my speech has been affected, in that when I say certain words it sounds like I'm having a stroke sometimes.
Right.
And fatigue, like I'd sleep a full 8-9 hours worth of a sleep, a good restful sleep, and still wake up fatigued, and went through sleep apnea trials, and it's like, well, no, that's not the problem, and all of that. And lo and behold, gets to October, long weekend 2019, and that week I'd spent in the coronary care unit in hospital because my heart just started doing backflips and giving out and stuff.
Wow.
And
would have been frightening.
Yeah, because it just happened. I was getting bouts of tachycardia, and just my heart was like beating the high score on the machine and all of that, and the cardios just couldn't figure it out. And for 18 months my body was just failing, like, and so overstressed, just trying to function and do normal things that your body's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's when my body started to give out. And it was like Friday and competition Saturday. I'd already missed out on like all the warm-ups and muck around games that they play on the Friday. And I said to the cardiologist as he's discharging me, and they said, hey, I've got paintball this weekend. Even though I've had massive heart like infarctions and coughing and spluttering and, you know, beating your high score on the machine, my heart's not going to explode in my chest if I go and play this game, right? And he goes, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't say yes, but it shouldn't explode.
No.
And I go, that's a yes.
Yeah.
So out the door I went, and I just went to paintball. But even then, that weekend, people around me knew.
Not quite right.
Not quite right. And even looking back on some of the old photos, I'm like as white as a ghost. And just jawls almost hanging off me, and like I just looked like death warmed up. And this is just before my 30th birthday and all of that, and 2 days after that tournament I just wake up and I can't feel my legs anymore. I can't move. I just thought, oh, this is it, you know, like I'm hitting 30, I've lost my legs.
Yeah.
And I tried to get out of bed and flop my legs over, because like I just thought, this is weird, like what?
Yeah, what's going on?
Went to sit off, peeled off my knees and just dove headfirst into the cupboard.
Oh my God.
Put myself in the cupboard, and my brother's come running, and I'm like, oh, you better call an ambulance, I can't feel my legs. And brothers sort of holding me, and they helped me all sort of thing. The ambos come, and they were like, there's no way we're picking this guy up. So
Right.
I think it was 3 ambulance crews or whatever that came to help get me out of the house, because I'm a big dude.
What were you thinking at the time?
Oh, I don't know. After spending the week in coronary care and then just sort of sitting there going, I don't know.
Yeah.
That then proceeded just shy of 18 months in hospital through the height of COVID. I ended up in palliative care because my body just shut down that bad.
Was this in coughs?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was put out into God's waiting room in Bellow, in the palliative area there. And, I had a wonderful Dr. Cheney that came in, and he said, hey Connor, I know what's wrong with you, I'm going to try, but my methods are considered a bit outside of the box, and a lot of other doctors don't like me for it, but I get results. And I just sort of, and 3 weeks later, all of a sudden I was better, like all of the things that were going on in infections and things, just my body shutting down just stopped. And he brought me back to life, but I have some consequences of that, like with my health and that now. But he got results, but I still couldn't feel my legs.
Yeah, right.
My body was still shutting down in that aspect. I was having fatigue, I was having some seizures, so I was flown to John Hunter, diagnosed by Dr. Wellington. I'm skipping over a lot because we could do a podcast on that.
We could do another one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diagnosed there, sent home to Coffs Harbour Base Hospital. There's, you know, their recommendations on, well, we need to start trying some rehab here and all of that. And the hospital just said, hey Connor, can you transfer into this wheelchair for us and that? So I flopped my legs over and I transferred into the wheelchair, and they said, great, you're going home tomorrow. No rehab, no nothing.
Wow.
And was just dumped out. You know, I always say like the Sid the Sloth out of Ice Age, where he's holding that bird over the volcano. Yeah. Be free, small flightless bird. And that was just me being left to figure it out in my life.
Yeah, right. How extraordinary.
And that's I suppose just the resilience from there, because I'd survived all of this.
That.
I had looked at it going through even the worst moments. I had a partner walk away from me in that moment, and I just said to the universe, take me now or give me something else.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is it. This is the whole reason as to why this is what the universe has kept me around for.
Yeah, well, I'm glad the universe has kept you around, because I'm going to hook into you as much as I can to assist us to further grow the Mid-North Coast community practice, and certainly assist with any advocacy situations that come my way. I'd love to have you back on even as a co-host.
Yeah.
I think you'd be great interviewing other people with lived experience.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing your story, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Okay.